Hey guys, welcome to episode 4 of our Elementor in 5 minutes tutorial series. In the last episode, we looked at the header element, and before that, we looked at margins and paddings. And today, we're going to be looking at containers. Now, I know it's called Elementor in 5 minutes, but there's no way we're going to do all of this in 5 minutes. So let's just get started. Essentially, before we even look at containers, I want to understand what's happening on screen. So right here, we have a few things happening. We have a header, we have a header, we have a main header, which most likely is an H1. This might be an H3, and we have a supporting subheader, which is most likely an H2, with a call to action in the form of a button that it changes the background color and the color of the text and border whenever you hover over it. Now, all of this, as you can see, is within this container right here. And it's actually a column that you're seeing. Now, in the background of the entire container, we have an image. And that is what we'll be looking at today. So, we have a column, which is in a container. Within the container, we have a background image. And within the column, we have the supporting header, the main header, another supporting header, and a call to action. Today, we're going to learn about containers. Now, we have to ensure that your container widget is activated. I won't go into how to do that because we did that in episode 1, right after we installed Elementor. We'll link that episode in the description. So what I want to do for you right now is I'm just going to take a look at this container. So we're going to hover here. By the way, this is a starter site from Astra that I'm using. I didn't actually build this website. And as you can see, this is from our previous tutorial. So we're just going to continue where we left off. So we're going to right click, edit section. And the idea here is that when we look at this section, there are a few things that's happening here. First, it says to convert to container, but that's only because we never had this website originally built with containers. Containers are fairly new, but the concept is going to apply except for a few things. And that's what I want to cover, the common ground, before we go over to what's technical about containers and of themselves. So we have what's called a section here, which really is going to be a container going forward. I think what we'll do is we'll just rebuild this, what we see right here. So we have this section. Within the section, we have a column. We can add another column. And within that column, we can add, let's say, an image. And what you're going to see happen is that as we go about and we add different things to our column, it's going to be stacked on top of each other. That's just the natural progression of things when we're dealing with sections. Now, the idea is that containers function similarly, except that within containers, you can tell the container the flow or direction that you want items to take as you place them in your column. Now, the reason why this is important is because this makes website building a lot faster, a lot more powerful. So what we're going to do is we're just going to recreate this section that we have here. So we don't need this column. We're going to recreate this section, delete, there we go. We're going to recreate this section here by using a container right beneath it. So we go here, we add, click add, and I'm going to use a Flexbox in this case. The reason is because it's a lot easier to deal with. Once we're finished with that, we're going to take a look at grids. So we have a Flexbox here, and this is what I was talking about. Now, remember when we added the column right here, and we added the header and the image and the paragraph and so on, everything was stacked on top of each other. What this is saying right here is you need to tell the container that you're going to create the flow of item, the direction that each element is supposed to take. Now, if you use the down arrow, and you can change this after you selected it, as we'll see soon. If you use the down arrow, then everything is going to be as it is here. It's going to be stacked on top of each other. But what if you wanted to have welcome to Lotus Spa, and right beside you have rejuvenated body and soul right here, and then this over here, and then this over here? Well, there's a way that you can do that, and that is by either changing direction from top down to left to right, or initially selecting left to right. But right here we have a top down structure, so we're going to keep that going. So we're going to select a top down. The other thing that you have to notice that just like in our previous setup where we added a column, and in our column we added some items, so we have image and we have a header, for example. That is what's happening here. You can have a 2-column structure. It can be a 50-50 column. It can be, what's this, a 30-70, I suppose. It can be 25 a piece, etc., etc. So I won't go into explain all of these, but these are basically structures that you can use. We're just going to delete this column again because we're not going to build that. We are going to go with no. Very good. So instead of selecting top down, I actually selected left to right. And I'm just going to show you how that works before I change it. So if we have a header here, which is welcome to Lotus Spa, copy it to make it a little bit easier. Copy, paste. It's going to be beside it. And we copy and paste. It's going to go beside it. And we copy. No, that's an error. We copy. And oh wait, we have that already, so we need a call to action now. So we copy and paste, and just to keep things uniform, I'm going to copy this and paste this as well, and it's going to work the same way, guys, so don't worry about the content and what we're doing. It's going to work the same way. So remember I said that whenever you come here and you select the direction of your item, you can go top down or left to right. Well, it should have been top down that we have selected, but instead I selected left to right. Now we can change this, like I said. Just going to close that, we don't need it. We're going to edit this container, which by the way right now is called a container, as you can see, and here it's called a section. But if we edit section here, we can convert our section to a container, but we're just rebuilding it just to understand how containers work. So the first thing and most important part is the direction or the flow, direction of the flow of items that we want. And we're going to change this from left to right to top down. You just go here, direction, ensure you have desktop selected here because you can change it for different screen sizes, or responsiveness, which is the most powerful part of containers. We'll get to that later. And we are going to select top down, column vertical, and here we have a similar thing. We just need to change this here, and we're going to have a background image. So let's just put in that background image first. So we go to, we're not learning how to build websites, so I'm going a little bit fast on this. We'll learn how to build websites in future episodes. So we're just going to change the background image. Oh, this is what we need. Change the background image. We need some space around the container. In episode 2, we looked at margin and padding. We're going to use some padding, but first I'm going to go with a minimum height of viewport height. I'm going to go with 50. Okay. We're going to change the repeat to no repeat. We're going to change the display size to cover. And we are going to add some padding. I'll use emphasis 7 at the top, 7 at the bottom. We also need some padding in the container itself. So what we're going to do is align. So we have right here. Wait. So we're going to edit the container now. Then we're going to go to start. Everything is going to be left aligned basically. And we need to have rejuvenated body and soul. So what we can do is we can add a bit of padding to this element at the right. Emphasis 5. Let's see if that works. No. 55 is a bit much, obviously. So we're going to go with 12. Rejuvenated body and soul. All right. I can see that image that we have in our container is not the same as we have here. It's a matter of alignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on that real quick, because I'm thinking what we need is not necessarily a viewport height, but we need to have, I don't remember if there was, yes, so it's definitely full screen. And we need to change the alignment of the image. So position, I believe we might go center right. No. Bottom right, wait. Top right, it seems like might be the right one here. Let's see if that gets it. Nope. So there's something with our image that I'm looking at. So this is just the image of the woman, and this is what I don't like about this image, guys, is that it has the font and text and everything in it. That's what I don't like. So it is the right image now. Initially we add only the image, but you see it has the text, the picture itself has all the text and everything. So we're just going to use what's not there. So this is a square image. You see the dimension 1280 by 1080, and this is 1200 by 630. So it's a different image. So we're just going to use a different image. It's not going to look exactly the same. So now we have all of that right here. Rejuvenated body and soul. We can, the best way to go about this would be to add a line break after rejuvenated. And then that would prevent us from needing to use all of this padding right here. And that would also work for our different devices. So what we're going to look at right here is that all of this is centered in the middle of our, well, this right here is a section, remember. So it's centered in the middle of the section. So what we can do now, we can tell our container, all right, we want all of this information to be centered in the middle of our container. So it's going to go here, right click, edit container. And this is where the tutorial gets interesting, because first we had the flow or the direction of the item. So we can say it's top down or you can go left to right. Now we're going to tell it, how do we want you to align? So a few things I want to do. First is that I just want to go ahead and delete this temporarily. That way we're only working with the container. You can see everything that's happening now. We're going to look at align, our alignment and so on. So our layout. So the direction has been explained. So we can go left to right. We can go top to bottom. We can go row reversed. And how row reversed works is that, wait, whatever is here is going to go here, and whatever is here is going to go beside it and so on. Just look at it, because if I'm to explain, it's going to be a little bit jibber jabber. So we're going to go row reversed, which is the opposite of this one. So initially we have welcome, rejuvenated, supporting text, book an appointment. Now we can reverse everything by having it go all the way topsy-turvy, as you might. And we also have a similar reversal for top down, where we can have everything flipped. And that's what's happening here. So we're just going to keep it back at top down. We also have our justify content. Now, justify content is something that you're going to get a lot of familiarity with as you build websites, especially if you're coding. This is something that's mainly used in CSS. All of these are values that you would use as CSS values. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on each of them and see how they work. So the first justify content is start. And this one is beautiful. It's just going to start here at the start of the container. I'm going to look, see if we have center. If we go with center, obviously one thing is going to happen. It's going to go to the center of our container, which is what we had above in our section. But we're going to keep on going. And remember, this is applying to our content. We're also going to have end. Now, if start is here, where could end be? Right? It's going to be at the end of the space of the container. So we're going to go to end, and it's right here, similar to when we did the reversal for the top down right here. Remember? So that's going to get complicated, because initially it's here, and this is start and top down. But if we do row reversal, then it goes to the bottom or end. And if we select end, then it goes back to start. So it's more like a double negative. We're going on. We're also going to have space between. Space between is interesting, because look what's going to happen. It's going to fill the entire space, but there's going to be equal space between each element. And that's quite interesting for various situations. It's actually very applicable. We'll get there as we start to build websites in future videos. We're also going to have space around. Now, space around is going to look very similar to center, but it works differently, because as you realize, there is equal space around each item. And that's what's happening here. We're also going to have spaced evenly. And this is the one that is going to look different. But it works similar to space around, except that the space here to space here to space here to space here to space here is always going to be the same. The idea here that I want to understand, guys, is that you're not going to be able to fully understand everything in one go. Maybe you're going to have to watch this video again. Maybe you're going to watch other videos. But that's not what's most important if you want to understand exactly what's happening. If you truly want to understand and get a mastery of this, you're going to have to start up Elementor and you're going to have to start playing around. You can install the Astra theme, install a starter set like we have here, and just click the buttons and play around until you're comfortable start building. So now that we understand how to position our content on the page, we're going to go ahead and center everything because that is originally what we wanted. Now, something that we're going to have to look at is the item alignment. So we have it at start already. Let's just go to end to see exactly what that means. If we go to end, then it's almost like a right align at this stage. And when we had start, it was like a left align. That would mean that center align would be in the center here. So we have center. So what has happened? What I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to add a background overlay, a black background overlay, so it's a lot easier. Now we don't have black here. I'm going to add a black background overlay, so it's a lot easier for you to see what is happening with our content. All right, so now we have the background overlay. What I want you to realize is that we have justify content center and we have align item center, and both of them are in action right now. What I want you to realize is that one of them is top down, one of them is left to right. So which one is top down? The content align is top down. If we focus on our justify content, it's going to align everything in a top down motion. So we have start. Wait, let me just remove this and go back to start. We have start, it's at the top down. If we have end, it's at the bottom. If we have center, it's at the center, top down, vertically going. And if we have space between, then it's going to be space between in a top down structure and spaced evenly and space around. Why do I do the gestures with my hand when it's on screen? So at the top, at the bottom, in the middle, vertically, it's going to have some at the top, some at the bottom, and some in between for space between. It's going to have something similar for space around, except that the space here and the space here is different from the space here and the space here and the space here. But if we want all these spaces to be the same, we're going to go with spaced evenly. So that's all for vertical alignment. For us horizontal alignment, we're going to use align items. And it's a lot similar to when you're typing in Microsoft Word. We've all used it. And you have a center align, left align, right align, and justify align. So we have center right here again, vertically for the justify content. Our align item start is going to be left aligned. Center is going to be the center horizontally, and right is going to be end, or the end of the page. And then we're going to have our stretch, which very easily is going to tell us what exactly is going to happen. We just don't have enough content right now to stretch the entire page. So let's just try removing this break to see what happens. And we still don't have enough content. But it would have stretched and filled the entire page, much like a justify. This is the bulk of containers. We're going to look at Flexboxes in a bit, and grids, and well, we're going to look at grids because we're working with Flexboxes right now. The principles are very similar, but what I want you to understand overall is that it's not complicated what's happening. What is difficult about it is that it's unfamiliar, and unless you get in and you start playing around with it, it's not going to become easy for you. You can also define the gap you want between elements, which means you can increase it a lot. And this is a lot like our space between, isn't it? But it's not the same because this one is manual. Meanwhile, the computer is calculating everything for us for various screen sizes whenever we use the justify content. We're not going to play around with this too much because it's self-explanatory. The next one is going to be most important. We're going to put this back at 20. All right, so for wrap, it's going to be very simple. I don't have content that we can use with wrap, but I'll explain how it works. It says that items within the container can stay in a single line, that is no wrap, means it's going to stretch, or break into multiple lines or wrap. And this is something I'll show you more in the future lectures when we're actually building websites. It's just that right now I don't have a lot of content, and this is a dummy site after all. But the idea with wrap is that you're either going to have all your content stay on one line, which may or may not look good, or you can wrap and break it into separate lines to have better formatting. We can also go to style to take a look at the different styles to take a look at the different styles, which is very similar to our sections. We can add a background image, overlay, border, shape divider, etc., etc. Nothing fancy. So that's basically it for containers in terms of Flexboxes. So now we're going to take a look at grids. We've looked at Flexboxes, and Flexboxes are one-dimensional. They're either left to right or top to bottom, as we've pretty much identified. We've explained here where we can change the direction or flow of our items in our container. We're just going to keep it top down. The thing that we have to look at now are grids. So if we want to find grids, I just brought it up. Let's bring it up again. We're going to add a grid. Now the thing with a grid is that grids can be both top down and left to right. There's also something interesting I wanted to take a look at, but I'm going to do it after we look at grids, because what we're going to look at is nested containers, which is very powerful. Matter of fact, let's look at nested containers real quickly. So we have this right here. This is a container. Look, edit container. What if we added another container here and had the items go left to right? We would drag the container right here, and we would set the direction horizontal, and then we would add one element, we would add another element, and we would add another element, and it's going left to right like we said. All right, so that's it with nested containers. Within this main container, you can drag another container and you can define how you want everything to work. See, you can even go with wrap, which means that everything fits on one line. You can no wrap, you can go with wrap, where each element fits one line, which also pretty much brings us back to top down. Or we can say no wrap, let it stay as it is, everything fits on one line. We can also change row reversed, column reversed, space between. Well, we're not going to have much of those changing because the space is already filled. And that's that. But like I was saying, we have Flexboxes, which is either top down, like we have here, or left to right, like we have here. It's only one. But with a grid, I'm just going to delete this because, no, I'll let it stay. With a grid, we can have both in each element. So we're just going to use this one for now. And right here, let's see what we can add. Perhaps a header, because I like adding header. And then we can see what else needs to be added. Image. And then we have some text right here. And actually, let's put the text over here. Come on, go over here. Oh boy. All right, so I'm just going to delete this so I can start over, because what I want right here is a call to action, and then over here I want a text. Now what we have happening here is quite interesting, because in our grid we already have a formatted column that has a formatted container with several columns and a really nice outline. So there's something else that we can add here, and we can just keep on going. So we're going to add, let's use something more interesting. Nope. No, don't do that. Let's add our image box right here, and we can keep going. I don't use a border. Let's use a Google map for what it's worth. And we can keep going like that, but we don't need all of these. The idea is that we already have a layout. Instead of trying to rebuild this ourselves, we add a layout. What did I mean by top down and left to right? Well, we already have it happening here, because here in our header, let's add a text editor. When we tried to add the text editor, what happened? It did not go beneath this heading text. Matter of fact, they pushed it aside and you have it here. But then everything also started flowing downwards, meaning that we have the left to right structure embedded within the top down structure. Let's go ahead and edit our container here, and we can say, all right, auto flow row or auto flow column. This is the most important one, because with our row, as we realize, when we add an element, it pushes everything aside in a row. If we go with column, look what's going to happen. Not much is going to be similar. It's going to change right here, except that everything seems to be different. And what just happened? you see initially in our design, let me go back to rows, all our rows, they go across, are here, and all our columns go down. When we flip the auto flow, everything goes like this. So this is going to be here. This text editor is going to be here, and everything is going in this direction. So all our rows have become columns and all our columns have become rows. And I'm just going to show you that once more. It's a little bit janky because of the dummy information that we have in. It's just some filler information, but the idea still remains. So initially we had 2 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Well, let me delete this to make things a little bit easier. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 2 columns and 1, 2, 3 rows. Now, if we change all the rows to columns and all the columns to rows, we're going to have 3 columns and 2 rows. So we have 1, 2, 3 columns. See, there's something in it all the way down. And we have 1, 2, well, it's a little bit hard to see, but it's actually there. So all the rows have become columns and all the columns have become rows. This looks very nasty. I do not want to keep looking at it. My OCD is acting up. Now we're going to also look at justify items, which pretty much is like we looked at in containers. So we're just going to fly through. This is start, this is for center, and this is for end, and this is for stretch. And you can notice that the only thing that's changing is the button, and that's because all the other elements have pretty much filled up their space. So let me just change this to add your, and now we can play with it again just a bit. So we have start, we have end, and notice this has moved to the end as well. These all fill up their spaces, which is why they aren't changing. And we have stretch. Now stretch is going to be interesting because it would have filled the entire space. We also have align items. So remember, for justify, it is horizontal top down, and for align, it is left right, like in Microsoft Word. So we can go center here, and we can go center here, and everything takes the center. Also want to realize that once we change the center for the left to right, it also affected here. So let's go that again. So our line right here is actually top down, and our justify is left to right. And we just keep on going like this, and you can see how it works. It doesn't matter if at this stage all of this seems difficult to you, because it's a new concept, fairly new. It was just in beta. I think it's mainstream right now, but it's like new technology. At first you're a little bit scared, you're a little bit wary of it, but as you start to play around just a little bit, you say, it's not so bad. I mean, most of the concepts are similar to sections. The only thing is different is the flow of the information, the alignment, or the flow of the elements, the alignment of the elements, and the options that go with it, which is why I started out by looking at sections. There are also some additional options that you can see with your Flexbox in terms of overflow. Overflow is when you're on a page and you can scroll for information. All right, so we have a container here. If this was filled with information all down, default would mean that yes, you could scroll. Hidden means that you can't scroll, and auto means that only if it's full then you can scroll. Nothing difficult. And we have our HTML tags just like usual. This is mainly used for CSS. Nothing exceptional, nothing to be excited about. And that's pretty much it for Flexboxes. I mean, we can continue using another grid right here, and we can use this structure, but it's just going to be more of the same. Image, divider, button, and you see it's still pushing everything away. I don't want WP forms. And it's the same. You can still change the alignment. With alignment is here and here or here, and it's the same thing. You can change the gaps between the columns and the rows. Change this to emphasis to make it a little bit more pronounced, and that's that. So get on, install a starter site, and just start to play around. with what's happening here. There isn't much to do in a tutorial except to sit and watch what is happening. But if you really want to make progress, you have to take the initiative and start learning. This has been episode 5, and a quite long episode as well, of our Elementor in 5 minutes tutorial series. This has not been a 5-minute tutorial. It could never be, given everything that we needed to cover and the familiarity we needed to build. This was by no means going to teach you everything that you need to learn, because this is only the concepts behind it. The application is where the winning is, and in our application we're going to build websites that help you to generate leads and clients for your business, help you to make more money and keep more money in your pocket. So in the future, after we've looked at all the elements of Elementor, we are going to go ahead and start building websites. If you want to build a website for your business that is going to help you generate leads and more clients, you can hit subscribe, so whenever those tutorials are going out, you are notified of them. Or what you can also do is you can contact our company and have us do everything for you. The links are in the description below. My name is Jabez Roberts. Thank you for watching this extensive tutorial. I will see you in the next episode tomorrow. Matter of fact, let's tell you what we're going to do. Tomorrow we're going to look at the image element, because we already looked at header and we've looked at containers. Tomorrow we'll look at the image element. Take care until next time.